He's the senior legal fellow at the Advancing American Freedom and Hans von Spakovsky. Dan Buck sitting in today. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thanks.
Well, we're coming down to the end of the season, I guess you'd say, for the Supreme Court. They got a couple more weeks, right, of decisions that are going to come down. We expecting anything this week or next week that is going to be groundbreaking, you think?
Oh, yeah. Listen, we're in the last 2 weeks of their term, and they scheduled Thursday as a decision release date. And let me tell you, they've got really big cases that we're still waiting for, including the birthright citizenship case, the case involving states saying that biological men can't compete in women's sports. And that's just two of the big cases we're expecting. I think we're finally going to get some of those this Thursday.
Wow. And you know, when it comes to that the case involving the biological boys competing with women in girls' sports, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Hans, is that this really would only apply to a few states, right? But then there's the chance that this could be affecting the entire country, or at least more states in the country, I should say.
Well, what's before the court are two cases they combined out with the Idaho law and the West Virginia law. But more than half the states have passed similar laws to what these two states did. And so it's pretty clear to me, and they're all basically the same, and they read the same. If the Supreme Court comes out, as I think they will, to say these state laws are okay in West Virginia and Idaho, that will basically make it impossible, I think, for leftist groups to challenge the same laws in all those other states.
Hans, another topic we've been talking about this morning has been Senator Ron Johnson and his push to try to get FDA transparency. And what's coming out of these data release reports is just staggering. The 25 major side effects that were hidden from the public from the vaccines. Is there any legal liability for the FDA officials who hid this stuff? Is Anthony Fauci, is he fully protected by a presidential pardon as more and more information of them hiding these really life-threatening adverse effects that were not reported?
Yeah, unfortunately, Joe Biden gave him a get-out-of-jail-free card when he gave him a pardon. For other officials who didn't get it, look, it's very, very difficult to sue government officials. There's only very limited circumstances in which you can be successful. So, unfortunately, I applaud Ron Johnson for investigating this, but unfortunately, these folks are going to probably get away with it. What we need is better legislation from Congress that mandates and says the FDA can't do this.
Yeah, that was my next question. Of course, vaccines have this kind of blanket protection, right? They don't have to go through the same rigorous training. They're protected from civil suits. Does that need to be dialed back or challenged in court? Why in the world would drug companies get a free pass with something that impacts millions and millions of people?
Well, the reason for that was because the commissioner that's the head of the FDA is a presidential appointment, and Joe Biden put somebody in to make sure that that happened. And what ought to occur right now is President Trump's appointee to the head of the FDA should be ordering the complete release. And that's part of what's been going on of all this information.
Yeah, the information is just damning, unbelievable. You know, tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of cases of really life-threatening illnesses and actual deaths, cardiac deaths, that now they know were directly being attributed to the mRNA vaccines. It's dumbfounding that A, it's still on the market, and B, that there's no liability. It's just, it's hard to even fathom.
Yep, no, I agree with you. And by the way, my daughter was one of the people who, she had a bad reaction to it. It wasn't life-threatening, but it was a bad reaction that all these doctors kept saying, oh, no, it can't be from the vaccine. But she then found others who had exactly the same kind of bad reaction to it.
Hans, you posted something on, and by the way, I can't believe your daughter was impacted by that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's insane. But you posted something on X that I thought was interesting that I hadn't heard about, because the Trump administration's been working really hard to root out DEI. And I didn't realize the Trump administration had recently announced it was cutting 43 partnerships with these outside groups that they say, look, this doesn't align with our priorities. So it's eliminating a lot of this funding that was tied to programs, I guess, basically contributing to DEI.
Oh yeah, at the of all places, at the Department of the Interior. So the Biden administration had given all these grants to all these left-wing private groups to put in DEI at national parks throughout the country. And the Secretary of the Department of Interior recently announced they are finally ending those. But that brings up the topic of why is the federal government, taking our taxpayer money and giving it to all of these advocacy nonprofit organizations all over the country? My feeling about that is, if they can't raise funding and donations from private parties, why does the government step in and give them money? If you cut all that out across the government, it would help reduce our budget deficit.
Yeah, just unbelievable. Head scratching sometimes when you start seeing where this money was going. Hans, great to have you.
Right.
We'll catch up next week.
Great, thanks.
All right. 7